Well, hey guys, welcome back to the cabin. I actually come up and check different things, different buildings out, and thought I would take a break from editing and actually come out here and check on the kitchen. Been a day or two since I've been up here, but it looks the same basically. Yeah, there's been a lot of cooking out here. There's been a lot of laughing, a lot of talking, lots of good times with subscribers that have had time to stop by, family coming up here, neighbors or friends, and cooking out here on the grill, and yeah, just lots of great times we've had. This kitchen was probably one of the best builds that I've done, and building something like this is really easy. So I selected the lumber out of the woods. I peeled the bark off of it and I ran it through the sawmill. Some of them, my horizontal beams, I actually milled them off on two sides, and then the rafters are actually cedar. I milled those off on two sides, but I made sure that it was 3 inches thick. The other beams I think were 5 inches thick, and basically it's just like Lincoln logs, really you just stack things on top of each other, and of course, pin them down against one another. But it was a really fun build. There's not really any rafters on here that are actually straight. They're crooked, but that didn't make any difference. I used 1 inch sheathing on the top. I was just basically looking for support, so it didn't matter if it was curved or not. It actually gave it a lot more character. And then of course scribing in something like those braces right there, that was a little bit different, but still. And the handrail, you've watched me build several handrails. They were a lot of fun to do. Basically I just drill a hole and stick a peg in it, and my railing is basically the outer portion, or the slab portion, cut a little bit thicker with the bark taken off of it, and still again holes drilled, pegs in there, and of course mortised into the posts on the corner, or whatever the structure I was actually working on. But it was really easy to do, and lots of fun. And it doesn't look anything like the norm, basically something that you're going to go out and buy at Home Depot or some big major outdoor supply place. It's got its own character. I don't think any two, if you build it this way, any two are going to look alike, because the curves on the wood are going to be different. You might want a little bit different handrail. You may use a different type of stain, thicker board, thinner, different type of wood. It doesn't make any difference. Putting together something like this is a lot of fun. And even in a backyard, somebody could, and you can use regular lumber, but put something up in the backyard, kind of like I guess you could say that this is a small pavilion, and actually have a place to go to and sit outside. And even if you had to put a hedgerow around it just to make you feel like you were out somewhere and you were secluded, maybe away from neighbors, is really relaxing, because there's a lot of times when I'm out here working, especially in the spring, summer, and fall, that I'll stop and take a break and come up here. And now that I've got the roof on it, I can get out of the sun if it's really hot. But yeah, just sit out here and listen to the animals. That's a lot of fun. And the dogs, they come out here and they lay on the porch with me. But by the way, if you haven't seen the series on this kitchen build, you can go to the playlist, and I have all the videos in there from start to finish. But well, for that matter, I've got the compost toilet, I've got the chicken house, I've got the cabin, and soon I will have other buildings that we will be putting on, a playlist as well if somebody wants to see the complete build on that. But yeah, no, each and every one of these has been a lot of fun. No two of them are alike. I used different material actually on the cabin handrail. When I built the steps up there, I had some nice cedar posts. I went ahead and put up a cedar handrail. Well, when I decided to go ahead and put the whole handrail on the cabin, then I decided to do it all out of cedar. That way it would match. But the pine, the spindles were made out of pine, and in order to make them match up as close to the cedar as possible, I didn't burn them, because the cedar, you know, like the core, it burned a different color, but the outer portion is almost the same color as some of the other species of wood. So I went ahead and just left it natural. I didn't burn it or anything, and I coated it with that oil, and it actually turned out to where if you didn't know it was a cedar, wasn't a cedar post, you may not know it, because it all blended in and looks the same. But I think it turned, because the pine is, I actually had a whole lot more of those, and you've watched me peel those cedar posts, and I'll tell you what, there are so many limbs and knots on those, it's kind of difficult to do. But no, I think it turned out fantastic. Got a lot of comments on that, especially, you know, its own design, being unique and making it blend into the woodland, setting the cabin off itself and making it unique. I've still got a lot of other, you know, like this bracing that I'm going to do and use crooked wood like I did up there at the chicken house, and do because it's basically going to be all trim now, but doing things that I can do to make it tie all the buildings together more. I started out, I thought, well, I'll have different themes for different things, but I think building them like this, like a lot of the comments says, that it blends it back into the woodland. It looks early part of the century, the 20th century, and you know, it's a lot of fun, and it kind of takes you back in time a little bit. Not that I don't have modern conveniences, you know, and tools and things like that, but just the whole atmosphere kind of takes you back. Now, a lot of it looks like a construction zone. Once it's cleaned up, once it's landscaped, and different things like that, that actually, you know, tie each and every building together like the spokes on a wheel, I think that it's really going to look nice. My kids, they kind of tease me saying that, you know, it's going to be like a small theme park, and they'll, years down the road, that they'll charge admission to come through here, like Dollywood or Silver Dollar City, which is, you know, was back in the day, or Gatlinburg, or what's that place, Branson City, or Branson, Missouri, things like that. But I tell you, you know, by the time we get done building and doing the things that we would like to do, it's not going to be anything on that scale, but it will be a small compound or a small outpost within itself of the things that basically you would need to hopefully be as self-sufficient as possible, based on, you know, your idea and the things that you want to try to provide yourself, and or the things that you want to either purchase or barter for. What you can do without, or what you can't. And, you know, basically that's going to be different for everybody. But I've got a whole lot of things that I'm wanting to do to try to be as self-sufficient as possible. And I'll tell you, in today's time, the time that we're living in now, that's probably one of the best things that you can do, is to learn how to do different things and be as self-sufficient as possible. The other thing too is it saves a lot of money. Being able to repair, you know, little things. My grandfather, he was really good at just basic common knowledge about not only nature, of course, you know, I'm sure that he learned a lot of that, gardening, and, you know, building, fixing things, and just there wasn't really anything that he couldn't do. And so I hung around and I gleaned a whole lot of that. Of course, when I was younger, you know, he made my sister and I work so hard that I didn't really like it as much then as when I look back on it now. And I think, you know, if I hadn't had somebody like that in my life, there wouldn't be a lot of things that I would know how to do, or the motivation. He never sat idle. He was constantly moving, and I get teased a lot about being exactly like him. But I think that that's what serves to help, you know, keep you young as possible, and keep you agile, keep your range of motion, keep your strength up, and, you know, being productive and taking care of things, you know, on a daily basis. So you guys are in a sense, you know, waking up and living the day with me and hanging out with me, and then, you know, when we close up shop. So, but you know, there's a lot of people, they seem to enjoy that type of thing. So we're going to keep on as long as we have strength, and God will, and the creek don't rise. But anyway, yeah, I just thought I would come up here and check out the kitchen. Hadn't been up here in a minute. Everything looks secure. So we'll move around and check some other buildings. Well, I thought on my way down I would kind of update you on the wood pile. That oak that he brought me, which he brought it to me just in time because I was actually going through that medium wood. I'm not going through that oak nearly as fast as I was the other. Now I've had this, what, a week now? Yeah, or maybe a little bit more. But this rick, or this cord, kind of came on down right about in here. But, you know, it's a whole lot harder than that other wood. And of course it had just been split up. I think the logs have been lying for a while because it's just a little bit damp. So what I've been doing at night, I'll take in some of the other wood with that oak, and it seems to make a really nice fire, and it lasts a long time. So I'm really proud that he got that to me just in time. I'm going to try to fill up the woodshed with the oak, because I talked to him while he was here and said that we could work out something where I could kind of collect it through the year and stack it, and then it will be ready to go for next winter. Well, this building looks secure. You know, this was a really fun build too. I had decided, you know, when I was going to clear this property, that when I built a cabin up here, I wasn't for sure at the time about, well, that was even before we had a YouTube channel, and you know, before we had even decided to try to do one. And when I thought, well, I'll just, you know, build a small cabin up here, and I'll have a place to go to the bathroom at some point. For the longest time I just used the woods, you know, just like the animals. But then I saw the need, you know, with several ladies coming up here and, you know, not really having a place to go, that I needed to go ahead and put something together. So I looked on YouTube actually at composting and things like that, and the different things that people had done. And what I've done in here basically is just use a plastic bucket, and right beside the toilet over there is a door that I can lift up on the right hand side, that's actually got cedar shavings and peat moss. And when you use the bathroom, you put the peat moss on there and then some cedar shavings in there, basically for just, you know, the aroma that cedar shavings have. And this is over, I think, what, maybe somebody, I think, is delivering a piece of equipment. Anyway, yeah, the cedar shavings are primarily for just smell. Now, I didn't know at the time but I've had this building for over what, a year and a half now, going on 2 years, and it still doesn't smell. Not like what you would think an outhouse would smell like. When people see it, you know, they just think, you know, well, did I make that for the grandkids? No, this is a functional building. This is an outhouse, and the thing that makes it unique is the fact that I have a liquid diverter that sits on the front of the bucket. So any liquid that would go in the bucket actually goes out into a 1-inch tube down into the woods, about 50 feet down in there, where I dug a big hole and put a bunch of creek rock down in there, and then I put some gravel on top of that, and kind of like its own little leach field. And that is, I think, the key in the smell is to keep those two separate. And then of course I've got a composting pile that I've got down in the woods, where I really need to take the block I have left and some of the different materials maybe, and put together a couple of bins, you know, so that I have a compost pile that's ready to use, and then the other one actually composting. But yeah, these hinges, you know, I see these all the time, and they're large enough that they stand out from a distance. But my neighbor up there, he forged those for me, and they're really cool, and I think that they make the building, you know, unique itself. And that little pipe that actually was just going to be for decoration, where it came out sideways and then went up, actually I decided to go ahead and make it functional, and I ran it all the way down into the box area, so it does create its own vent, and so just like a chimney. And so that's pretty cool. And then of course, you know, I had the deer antler for the handle, had the pine knot for the doorknob, and then of course making the round door itself, which basically I bought these so that they wouldn't shrink or basically split, glued them together. And then this is a piece of cedar right here that I put on the top and on the bottom. But yeah, this is a really fun, and the sides, all of this wood right here is slab wood with the, you know, which is the outer portion, the knotty portion that I wasn't going to use. But then I got to thinking, I went ahead and covered the building with sheathing, but then I got to thinking, well, I could use those for my battens, and I did. And then I thought, wow, that really looks cool, its own design. And so that inspired me to do some of the other builds. And so there's a new use for basically something that would be a throwaway. And then of course, you know, the handrail that I built here is kind of it was the same as the kitchen up there, because I actually built the kitchen first. And then, well, this little bridge right here, you know, was just a piece of thick lumber that I milled off, and then I took and scribed out an arch, and then I just took the chainsaw and just followed that, and actually came out, you know, with an arched bridge. And then I cut material that was about 5 inches wide and nailed down on that, because you can't go too far when you're making corners, or you'd have corners sticking up, or when you're making an arch. And then, you know, the handrail was out of a couple of pieces of wood that was kind of gnarly looking, but I shaved it down, drilled holes, run pegs in it, and really nice handrail. So that little build down there, and the way that, you know, you individually do each one when you build like this, it makes them signature. Because like I said earlier, there won't be another one like it. Even if it's similar to it, it can't be like it, because the wood is not going to have the same curves to it. So when you do something like that, like I said, it's going to be signature, and you can always say that that's one of a kind. There's not another one in the world like it. So this is, you know, a lot of fun to do things. I mean, you have to stop and think outside the box a little bit on some of the things that you're doing, because it's not, you know, something that you would do all the time, like stick framing a house or something like that. But a lot of fun. Once you kind of get the hang of it, then you just kind of open up to, you know, well, what's the limit? You know, walk out in the woods and you see a piece of wood or something like that, and you think in your mind, well, what could I do with that? But yeah, it's taking what nature has provided, re-engineering it, and making something that you can use that's useful, and it continues to live on. I'm actually waiting for Jennifer to get here, because when she does, we'll do some question and answers. But I just wanted to kind of go around and take you guys, talk a little bit, about the buildings. And I tell you what, I hadn't let any grass grow under my feet lately. It may not seem like there's been a whole lot of production being made, but I tell you what, I have been non-stop, good weather or not so good weather. But anyway, I'm making it happen as fast as I can, but as safe as I can as well. Hey, what are we doing? That's a good one.
You always taught me not to steal. He taught me not to steal stuff, and he just stole from me. Give it back.
Okay.
Give it back.
Jennifer's going to do some show and tell.
Yep.
I actually had a stack of pictures sitting over there on the table that I've been saving until I kind of got things arranged, so I could kind of hang them up. Anyway, she happened to pull this one out. She goes, "That's what we're going to talk about on the review."
I'd actually looked for it for the last review that we did. So this wonderful picture is of my dad right here. What is this called? What kind of kick was this?
That's called a flying sidekick.
A flying sidekick. So many moons ago, as he said, he done Taekwondo, which is Korean, and shout out to anyone who has ever had any kimchi, which is Korean food. It is amazing. So yeah, long story short, my dad was bad to the bone. You all weren't supposed to be told that. He is a way up there degree in his black belt. But let me just show you this picture, and then I'll get to why I wanted to tell you all about him. So again, that is him doing a flying high sidekick. Isn't that what you called it? Something like that? Alright, so now that I've showed you all that, listen y'all, he's famous, okay? So famous, that kick made it onto the World Martial Arts Federation's medal. Now, he doesn't have any of the medals here. I have them all at my house. We will bring one for another day to show you all, but I just wanted to show you this. There we go. You go. That is my dad, top, my dad on the bottom, y'all. He was, well, my phone went off. He was famous, and none of y'all had a clue. So, don't mess with him, because he's a big bad mamma jamma. He's over here blushing.
Embarrassing.
Well, I had actually looked for that, and I wanted to talk about it because no one knows that he used to do that. And even just like, 10 years ago it was, you went to compete somewhere, and honey, he was whipping kids in their 20s.
You know what I'm talking about that?
In their 20s, y'all. He was kicking butt and taking names. I don't know what this is about. So one of Dad's instructors made him this, and it says, faith is not believing that God can. It is knowing that he will. How true that is, and how we should all live by that. Anyway,
she wasn't supposed to let the cat out of the house.
Bag.
I let the dogs out of the house. But anyway,
listen, he's
now
done a many of
it's like
things.
Paul Harvey, the rest of the story.
How many of you know who Paul Harvey is?
Paul Harvey, enjoyed listening to him all the time.
I gotta show y'all something real quick. Hold on. You can't see my head. I don't want you to. Look, he's got chicken eggs. What? Look at them pretty babies. Yes, that is so exciting.
I just happened to go up there because I know that they hadn't been laying, and I found 5 of them. But I haven't had any in about 3 days now, so I'm not quite sure what happened.
It's because he found them and they're like,
Yeah.
you caught me.
Anyway, but yeah, I got a few eggs, so I'm looking forward to the days getting longer and getting a little bit warmer, so that they'll start producing eggs. Also, I've got to get out there and pull those weeds, or what's left over from some of the plants and things like that in those raised beds. And I've also got to get the logs drugged down here and all that rotten material and get covered up with dirt, so that I can put plants in there too, and figure out what I'm going to do about fencing down there.
I saw where you pushed the logs back.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also getting logs stacked up. I bought 2 loads now, and I'm looking for about 3 more, and then we should have plenty of material that I don't actually have to go to the woods and cut down. I can just start working on, because I got them dirt cheap. $100 for a whole dump truck full, okay? Logs like this. Anyway, getting a little stack of them going on down there, a mix of pine and poplar, because I don't mind putting the poplar, for the interior framing, but I think the pine does a little bit better on the exterior. Anyway, what about any questions?
Why are crabs so bad at sharing?
I have a feeling you're going to tell us.
Yep. Because they're all shellfish.
Shellfish.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I think everyone said that someone wanted to know how many saw blades you had used out there on the saw since you've had it.
I probably went through 75, maybe, because I can cut, I don't know, maybe not that many. I was trying to think how many boxes I actually bought, and there were 10 in a box. But I can cut about 4 good-sized trees like this per blade. They're not carbide tipped or anything like that. They're just straight metal. You can take them and have them resharpened, but the machines, there was 2 places around here that did that, and both, just coincidence, but both their machines quit, and they said that they weren't going to take the money and fix them. So there's no place around here that I can do that. I would have to ship them off, and that's quite a ways to go to the place where I would actually have to ship them off from. So I've just been paying just a little bit more and just getting brand new blades, and I've got a whole stack of the used blades behind the sawmill out there. So, but anyway, yeah, it cost about $200 and I think it was $25. The last ones we bought were from Wood Miser for 10 of them, and so, but with that. With 10, I could cut 40 good-sized logs. That's a whole lot of material. That's a lot of money, basically, I'm saving. That money right there, making any material I want. Then if I had to go buy it, what's been the price of 2x4s lately?
Someone else, they said that they would like to see the countertops not be burnt. I think I've talked him out of not burning them and just leaving them natural. Actually, you all talked him out of not burning them.
Patrick wants them burnt. He said, no, burn.
No. We all say no, right? So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Will you put epoxy or whatever on it to make it to last longer?
I don't know. If I don't oil it, it's not going to blend with everything else here. It'll be just kind of like a light tan color. It'll be a standout on its own, because the shells, I actually did oil those.
Well, can't you oil and then put epoxy?
I don't know. Some people say that it won't have nothing to adhere to, but it's rough sawn. Even though I sanded it, I didn't over sand it, and it's still rough. I figured it might bond to that, but who knows? It may not. So I think what I'm going to do is sand it down somewhat, and then just put polyurethane on it. That should help it. I do know that oil that I use, that I've used on everything, water beads just stand on top of it. But anyway, my son said, well, we could go ahead and caulk the back, since it will never be removed. Could caulk the back side and take a small something and go around the lip of the edge, and then just pour like that epoxy stuff on the inside and let it set up, and then take that outer edge off, because you wouldn't have to do the back side.
It's true.
So we may end up doing that.
At least somebody got blessed with a brain that thinks outside the box, because this one sure doesn't.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm getting geared up to start working on the kitchen. That'll be in Friday's video coming out. I'll start putting all those pieces together that I've been working on, and so maybe we'll have some kitchen shelves in here that we can actually stand up to cook and not have to kind of bend over. But anyway, guys, we want to thank you. We're going to go ahead and cut the video here, because mainly most of the comments were about, you know, liking the handrail and you know, everything that lately has been going on. So but anyway, we want to thank you guys for stopping by and hanging out with us. Jennifer, my son Patrick, who will be here actually shortly for a few days to help do things around here, so you'll be looking forward to getting him on film.
And chasing him with a spider.
With us. Anyway, we all thank you guys for your support on both of our channels. We can't thank you enough. If you're new to this channel, be sure to go check out our main channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost. That's where we do all the work around here. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for, like I said, all your support. We hope each and every one of you have a great afternoon. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.
Peace.